Hello, saints and scholars. Welcome back to Theo Life with me, Patrick Stitt, where today we're going to introduce what is apologetics. At its core, apologetics is the defense of the Christian faith. It helps people to provide an intellectual framework by which we can defend, comprehend, and create logical reasons for our faith in Christianity. When people are introduced to the Christian message, they will either accept it or reject it. The reasons people reject Christianity can be quite complicated, but let's try to break them down a little bit. A common potential cause for the rejection of Christianity would be an emotional concern. Some people do not like the idea of being forgiven or having to depend on God. Another area would be moral concerns. Christianity demands a change of behavior from the convert. This may include changes in one's behavioral patterns, spending patterns, or sexual behavior. This can be very difficult for a lot of people. There may also be potential persecution from converting to Christianity. This can come in legal persecution or societal persecution from friends. Another area may be with previous struggles from the church. Someone may have previously gone to church and had a very negative experience, which turns them off becoming a Christian. Finally, there are intellectual doubts. It's this final area of intellectual doubts where the apologists can really sink their teeth into. As we've mentioned, apologetics has two purposes. It can either encourage Christians to be more secure in their faith, or find people who are not presently Christians and help them remove the intellectual doubts for their faith. Let's discuss the various types of apologetics. First, there is classical apologetics, sometimes called philosophical apologetics. Next, there is evidential apologetics, which uses evidence from history and science. Presuppositional apologetics, which presupposes the veracity of Scripture and God before beginning the argument. Reformed epistemology, which comes from more of a Calvinist bend. And cumulative case apologetics, which tries to create a comprehensive approach by using various fields of study. First off, there's classical apologetics. Throughout most of history and most of the Bible, this is the form of apologetics that is used. Classical apologists like to create a logical argument for God. They generally do this by using philosophy and observations of the world around them. Examples of classical apologetics would be noting that things like morality exist, creation exists, order exists, and determining philosophical conclusions from those facts. Classical apologetics love to dig into philosophy of all kinds. A famous example of this would be Thomas Aquinas, who famously developed the 5 ways, sometimes called the 5 proofs, for God, which we'll discuss later in the course. Today, possibly the most famous classical apologist is William Lane Craig, who is well known as possibly the preeminent Christian debater of the modern era. Secondly, and most excitingly, are evidentialist apologetics. Evidentialist apologetics love to look for empirical evidence for the claims of Christianity. They particularly like to do this through history, but sometimes science. Evidentialists are big fans of archaeology and love to look through the ruins and read ancient documents to build a cumulative case to show that the biblical account is a historically accurate account. Two famous examples of this would be Lee Strobel and Gary Habermas. Both of these men were skeptics who looked at the historical evidence for the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and came to the conclusion that based on the evidence alone, we had sufficient reason for determining that Jesus Christ was a historical person who really did rise from the dead. Next, we have presuppositional apologetics. Presuppositionalists presuppose that the claims of the Bible are correct. Now, this might sound a little bit strange if you're not Christian or you're a little bit skeptical, because it seems like you're starting with your conclusion and building a case from there. But a presuppositionalist would say everyone actually is already kind of a presuppositionalist. For example, you might have heard someone say, only things that are real are things which can be proven scientifically. To which you may respond, can you scientifically prove that the only things that exist are things that can be proven scientifically? This person would have a naturalistic assumption, which is an assumption without any evidence. Another person may tell you, I reject claims of exclusivity. There are no absolutes. To which you may respond, Are you absolutely sure? Finally, somebody might say, I reject belief in God because the church has done wicked things throughout its history and the Bible endorses slavery and genocide. Based on being a moral person, I determine that there is no God. To which you may respond, if there is no God, then what is the basis of saying there is a good or an evil? We understand our definitions of good and evil by looking to how God defines them. If we take away the foundation of ethics, then how can we say the church was good or evil when good and evil can't even exist? A presuppositionalist will note that we all tend to have our own types of presuppositions that we often can't justify intellectually, but we just believe them as foundational to who we are. A presuppositionalist would say, if you're going to have a set of presuppositions, you may as well make it the Bible and Christianity because they're the only ideas which can be logically justified in understanding the world around you. While many people have issues with presuppositional Christianity, it does propose a fascinating challenge to other worldviews that we tend to presuppose and built our apologetic understanding upon. Next, let's look at Reformed epistemology. Reformed epistemology is the idea that the belief in God is a foundational belief of all human existence. This is called a properly basic belief. Like all human beings fundamentally understand the concept of numbers or our own mind working, we fundamentally will believe in the existence of God. Reformed epistemology believes that a belief in God is innate within every human being. This might seem a little strange, but it does actually have evidence. We note that babies very quickly understand concepts of corporate morality and a belief that there is order within the universe. We note that societies all sort of develop religious ideas and nationalistic myths as part of their creation. Evidence seems to suggest that belief in God and order in the universe are a foundational part of the human psyche. Therefore, a Reformed apologist would say there's no point in arguing for the existence of God because it's something that all people kind of innately already know to be true. Like most Calvinist thoughts, the idea is that you can't really come to the conclusion intellectually that there's a God, rather that this belief was given to you by God himself. Finally, let's look at the cumulative case approach to Christianity. Cumulative case apologists say, let's bring in all the evidence, let's bring in all the arguments, and let's build something together, almost like a pyramid of ideas that we build on top of each other that will finally bring us to a belief in God. A cumulative case apologist loves to look at philosophy from classical apologetics and evidence from evidential apologetics and experiential stuff from maybe more of a mystical approach to Christianity, bring all these pieces together to create a full case for a belief in Christianity. Cumulative case Christianity believes that human beings are quite complicated and our path to God is not kind of a single moment decision or an aha moment. Our walk to God is a lengthy journey, a journey through the mind, a journey through the heart, and a journey through the soul. And all of these things are fraught with new barriers and new concepts and new issues to be overcome. And only by treating people in this holistic manner can we really help them build a firm foundation upon which to build their Christian faith. Therefore, the cumulative case is a multidisciplinary approach. Let's conclude by asking, what do these various types of apologetics teach us about our understanding of God and our journey toward Him? The different forms of apologetics show us the huge variety of audiences when it comes to apologetics. Many people are going to be brought to Christianity by philosophy, others are seeking evidence, others are seeking a foundation upon which to build their worldview. They also teach us a lot about the philosophical assumptions of the church. Some people love the idea that God has sprinkled evidence throughout all of the universe for us to dig into and build a case to find His existence if we work hard enough. Other people find the idea of looking for evidence for God kind of unseemly and a little bit improper. They think we're just supposed to believe and just have faith and assume those things without the need for intellectual evidence. Other people find the comparison of God with other systems of belief like different religions or non-religious worldviews to be improper, as God is so magnificent, so wonderful that He should not be put on a comparative scale with other ideas. Apologetics shows us that the path to God is a complicated one for many people, and a broad path of intellectual understanding helps us to facilitate these various journeys to God. It also shows us that our own understanding as a church can be a complicated one in how we approach the difficulties of apologetics. So which approach is the best one? Hey, you decide.